Hello everybody, in continuity to this my topic, IGC 1 element 3, health and safety management system, what they should do. We talk about the organization, the roles and responsibility of the ILO. Who is the ILO? Is the International Labor organizations. They are there to put laws or certify company, right? So I'm going to talk about the roles of client and contractors responsibility. Client and contractor responsibility. Before I proceed further, I will highlight on my previous topic that I spoke about the directors, the responsibility of the directors generals, and also the demonstrates the top management commitment. The top management who are the strategics, that the people who make laws, like the directors, the CEOs, right, of companies, right? So then also we'll talk about the middle class. The middle class are the managers, the supervisors. In that supervisor, we have the safety teams, the people who supervise. They watch out what responsibility or what needed to be added in every community or any office place. That are the middle management, that's the managers or the supervisors. Their roles and responsibility are highlighted also. Then we're talking about the workers. The workers in the middle class, they are expected to know their responsibility. Then also a person in control of premises. They will also use the HSC or facility management in every organization. They will use the security or the watchman to carry out this responsibility. They will delegate this responsibility the person in control of the premises, so the security will be able to monitor what is wrong in the building, and in case of any incident that occurred, the security will take record. Then also talk about self-employed people. Self-employed people must ensure for their own safety, their own health. They have to have a regular safety precautions also. Then we're talking about the general duties of suppliers. Suppliers are those merchandiser, right? Those outsource. They supply to every facility or every government places that vendors, right? Those are vendors. So they also should check for their own safeties, health and safeties also. So now I will proceed to the main topic, which talk about the clients and the contractors. So in deliberating about the clients and the contractors is a person or an organization engaged to undertake a certain work on behalf of the client, but not under the client's direct supervision or control. So this simply means that contractors are people that the client delegates a responsibility or delegates the contract to them, that you do this contract, I will pay you this amount, and the contractor are responsible for their own supervision. Only the client will also make sure at the end of the contract and verify and evaluate that, okay, the contractor, they did the job perfect, and the client will end up to pay them their own money, right? So in this context, who is a client? A client is a person or organization who engage a contractor. So this simply means that the clients, they are the one who engage. They give a contractor the responsibilities, right? Let's say, for example, some company, because of they don't have transportation, they will dedicate this transportation contract to company to transportation company for them to take their staff to work. At the end of the month, they have the client will have to pay this transportation company, right, or construction company, right? You see, subcontract, they have another thing they call it subcontractors. So contractor also can dedicate contracts to the subcontract. So the contractor will become clients for that subcontractors, right? So also, let me proceed in the client. A client is a person who organize or engage a contractor. In the interest of health and safety, the client must be aware of the risks associated with the contractors working, and the contractor must also aware of the risks inherent in the client's workplace. So they have to make sure that an agreement should be done in terms of safety precautions when you are allocating the contract to the contractors, right? So then we proceed in further by saying shared duty. What are their duties, right? Contractors are responsible for their own health, right, and the safety, and also health and safety of the others who might be affected by their working activity. So this simply means that a client is not responsible for a contractor health or safety. The contractor is the one who is going to employ his own contractors, and also is responsible for their own health and safety, right? Then number two, a contractor company is an employer, is their own right, as they are employee. Also, the contractor's company and its employee own the duty to everyone. That simply means that the contractors, they are at their own risks and also their own responsibility to take care of their own safety and health, right? Then point number 3, when a client begin a contract on a site, the contractor work become a part of the client undertaking. So this simply means that when a contractor starts a work, he has already taking the responsibility of a client, so he become the client. The client will only not supervise, he will also monitor at the end of their contract, because there is a starting date of the contract, then there is an ending period, that this period is supposed to complete the contract that I allocate to you, the contractors, right? So point number 4, the client and his employee also own the duty to everyone. That is self-explanatory, right? Then point number 5, the responsibility for ensuring that the health and safety is shared between the client and the contractor. It is both party interest to ensure that each does everything that might be considered reasonable in the circumstance to discharge their responsibility and avoid criminal liability. So according to their policies, the client and the contractors, that the contractors or the client is not responsible for any health hazard that they might facing. The contractor is the one who is going to facing that one. So the contractor needs to put his own policies, how his own staffs or his own contractors, they should follow the safety precautions, right, or the health policies, right? Then also I'm going to talk about the section of contractors. So the section of these contractors is talking about evidence of competence. What is the evidence of competence? Evidence of competence is health and safety policy. Health and safety policy. We're talking about the we're talking about the health and safety policy. Then also risk assessments must be done. That the contractor, he has to check the health and safety policy, he have to check for risk assessments, they have to check for the qualification and training record. They have to check for membership of professional organization and certified body, right? So they have to certify their document that we have safety officer, or this our equipment they are certified, or this chain we are using for forklifting. For example, this chain that we are using for crane operation is certified. So they have to make sure for that. Then they have to do maintenance and testing for plants and equipment. Then name of previous or current clients, they have to have the names of previous or current clients. Then accident history or record, any accident that occurred, they should have a record of everything that is going on. Then the enforcement action taken by the authority against them, so they should have their own policy in case of they undermine the safety precaution, what are the enforcement, what are the decision or laws of authorities going to take against them. Then they should have adequate resources, that the money, the finance, such as access to specialist safety advisor, right? Then also they should have adequate insurance. In case of anything, they should have insurance that will cover them. So in the next topic, I'm talking about planning and control of this contractor. When we're talking about the planning and control of this contractor, planning simply means is the information the client should tell the contractors about the hazard and the risks in the workplace, and the contractor should tell the client about the hazard and the risks created by the contractor, by the contract work. The contractor should carry out risk assessments and also develop a safe working method to control the risks identified. Right? This safe work method must be documented and is often referred to as method of statements. So in the planning, the client and the contractor should make sure that they have an agreement who is going to be responsible for any safety or any accident that occur, right? Or any risk assessment that the risks that they are going to undergo. They should have a written document, and that written document is called method statement. So that is under the planning, right? Then we're talking about monitoring. Monitoring is self-explanatory. How we can monitor, both of them can monitor each other or monitoring their staff. So in this monitoring, first one is the signing in and signing out procedure. So in the monitoring of the contractor, anyone that is coming to that facility or that building or that office should have a tag in, should have a records who is coming in and who is going out. They should either sign. Then also name of worker, like the foreman, every name they should have. Then also site induction training for all contractors worker. They should have site induction, whether it's been in the office or in a field work. They should have introduction or a preamble training. Everybody should obey or understand about that working place. Then they should have control of high risk activities with a permits to work in system. So permits to work system is called POW. They should have permits in the sense that any work they want to do, which is hot work, they should have permits to work, or any other work they want to do, they should check whether the safety is correct or whether their equipment, for instance, people want to do pest control, they should check for their pest control, they check for their safety marks, their gloves and their certificates, whether it's correct, valid, their license. Then also the same like also for contractors, like building contractors, they should check for their license whether it's correct. Then also for catering, like people who are doing food control, they should check for their hygiene certificates, their hygiene certificates, their safety gears they are using. All these things they should check for. So the client will need to monitor the contractor work to ensure that the contractor is working to agree safety standard, right? This can also be done by monitoring against the method statements that will develop during the planning stage, right? Then what is the meaning of joint occupier of premises? Joint occupier of a premises, employees share the premises, must coordinate with regarding to their health and safety arrangements and emergency procedures, right? They should also be informed each other of any likely risks arise from their activity. So joint occupier of premises simply means that the client and the contractor, they should have an agreement in case of any changing of location or changing of weather, in case of any risks arise. This is how we are going to amend our policies. We are going to amend our ILO, International Labour Law, right? Or any added safety precaution they need to do. They should add in their contracts. If they need more budget or resources, they should add regarding to their evaluation whether this area is safety, right? Because sometimes natural disaster can occur, anything can occur. So this is called joint occupier of the premises, where the employee, they share the premise or their coordination or coordinator with regarding to their health and safety agreements and any emergency procedures that in any emergency procedures that occur, or there are written emergency procedures. If it need changes, then the client and the contractors will arrange towards that one, right? Then I'm going to talk about the concept and significance of safety culture. The concept and significance of safety culture. Definition: the culture of an organization refers to the formal and informal rules, value, and customs, and the relationship that describe the feeling of the organization. So culture simply means that the organization will refer to the formal and informal, their value, their custom, their rules and regulation. So that is called the culture. So we're talking about the safety culture. Safety culture can be defined as the sharing, the attitude, the value, the beliefs, and the behaviors relating to the health and safety. So this simply means that every company, they have their policies, right? So when they make their policies, people should follow their safety. They should adapt these safety cultures, how they will arrange these safety cultures, how they are going to adapt to these new changes. So they should understand that one, right? Then also we're talking about collision between the culture and the performance. This simply means that the safety and their precaution. So there are safety precautions, right? So collision between the cultures and the performance. An organization which a positive health and safety culture will ensure that the health and safety standard are highly and will have. Number one, you have a firm statement of health and safety policy. Then number two, well-defined lines of responsibility and control. Number three, they should have clear communication and consultation on health and safety. Then number four, they should have active approach to health and safety at all levels. Then number five, people working safely, so there will be fear, accident, and ill health. An organization with a negative health and safety culture will have, like if an organization they have a negative health and safety culture, that means they don't care about safety and health. The workers who think health and safety is unimportant, then they will lack of clear direction and leadership from a senior management. Then they will also, the manager who do not consider health and safety in their decision making. Then worker who have on safely because they do not know any better. Then with the lack of attention to health and safety standard will be low, and poor behavior and accidents will always occur, right? Then I'm going to talk about indicators. Indicator used to assess the culture. The culture means that how they can accept the safety precautions, health and safety, how they will put it in their mind that these are what we should follow. They should have it in culture. They should use it like a culture, that this is what we should follow in safety precautions, right? So what are the indicators, the signs? Indicator simply means, like, one, you have the accident, then sickness rates, they have absenteeism, they have staff turnover, they have compliance with safety rules, they have complaints about working conditions, right? So I'm going to explain this indicator used to assess the culture. Number one, you have the accident, right? Accident simply means that comparing the performance with previous years or industrial or industry agreement. So whenever accidents occur in the present situation, they will compare with the past years or past years accident that used to occur. Now there is no accident that is occurring. So that is how the cultural help they were able to assess. Then sickness rates, the sickness rate they were able to access, whether there is a health risk, they were able to assess, right? Whatever illness they have this year, they were able to assess to last year. If last year is more higher, they will know that, oh, now this year it's better, right? Then this is called a absenteeism. That means the possibility due to illness, health caused by work, or a poor moral link to a negative safety culture also. So this one they can also assess, right? They can evaluate. Then also staff turnover. So they were able to assess that this year staff turnover with the safety precaution in their facility, in their building. Staff follow the rules and regulations. Staff work in where it's meant for people, rather than using the way wearing people are not supposed to use. Then staffs are using their PPE, that is personal protective equipment. Staffs use it, you understand? So they were able to know the turnout. That's why they have the RII form, or intervention invention form, that if you see like a security or a safety manager, it saws something that people are doing, they will intervene that this person at this particular time don't follow the safety precaution of that building, right? Then also, I'm going further to talk about the work, the influence of peer group. Influence of peer group also. The influence of peer group also. When we're talking about the influence of peer group, it's also the worker, because of their friends, can influence them to either do good or do bad, right? So I'm going to talk about another topic which talk about the factors influencing safety related behavior. What are the barriers that influence safety related behavior? So in talking about safety related behavior, individual factors. When we're talking about individual factors, the attitude, the appetites, or the motivation, or the perception. So this simply means that if people have good attitude, they accept the safety rules, or they have good appetites, or they motivate each other, or the perception, what they think that these safety precautions or this ILO is good, the labor law, right? So this one they have in their mind will make this one, it will influence it in a good way. But if they don't accept this in their mind, it will influence it in a bad way, and the safety precaution will not work, or the ILO laws will not work properly. Then we're talking about the job factors, right? Job factors is also a factor. Characteristics of the job or the task that influence safety related behavior, like the workplace or the environment or mental demand, right? So the environment also can make people frustrate, or it can help people to do their job. They will be peaceful in that environment, right? Then we're talking about number 3, organization factor. Organization factor is the policy and the procedures and the management and the commitment and the supervision. So you find out that in some organization, the policy and their procedures or management, it's very easy. People are complying to that. People don't feel like they have bothered, right? So in that organization, they will progress. But if they feel that the staffs, they feel that they are bothered, that the policy is not good, the management is not good, the supervision is not good, at the end of the day, that business people will not feel happy about that situation, right? And that's what will make the organization to go down. Then I'm going to talk about the individual factors in more details. Individual factors like people attitude that predispose them to act or react in a certain way, or a situation or a attitude or a difficult to change but training and education may help. So the attitude of a people also, individual, it can help, or it can make company to go down, or it can make the labor law not to work out because of the attitude of the people. But in certain situations, company need to give people the training, right? Like how to be polite, how to deal with people in a polite way, customer service, right? How to do marketing, how to speak to people. So this one can help the attitude of people. A code of dressing also can help. Then number 2, we talk about the individual factor, how to deal with individual factors. Number 2, a person appetite, aptitude, right? Which is their ability to learn and do things. So their aptitude, the ability for them to do certain work, right? They have the motivation. Then we have motivation here. An individual derive to achieve a goal or work, or should be motivated to work safely. So in motivation also, individuals, if they have motivation, they can do the work very fast. But if their lack of that motivation, at the end of the day, you find out that where they're supposed to work 1 hour, they will take 10 hours to work in that place. So motivation also is individual factors, right? It's either make people or break people. Then the perception. So perception, which allow people to recognize hazard or the risks, or the perception can also be the sought by illness or distress. So the perception that people have, if they have the perception that this place that their work is not good, the health condition, there are a lot of risks that involve. So the perception will also make them to seek. But if they have the motivation, right, the motivation can build their perception. At the end of the day, they were able to do their work at a very good manner, right? So I'm going to talk about the effects of age and the experience, right? So that people with a little or more prior knowledge and understanding of hazard and risks interpret situation differently. The more experience an employee, the more perception of an employee is, the better is also better, right? So I'm trying to explain about the importance of employee. All these things is the age also will help employee to have more knowledge, to have more understanding on how they will do their work, on how they will help each other, because in experience in every job is more important. When you have the experience in work, the work will be able to done at a faster rate. So I'm going to talk about the improvement of health and safety culture. Health and safety culture. So when we're talking about the topic improving health and safety culture, this simply means that an organization approach to health and safety can be improved by securing the commitment of senior manager and ensure that they are fully involved with day-to-day work and decision, and consulting with employee on any changes to working condition and policy, right? Then also to promote the health and safety standard by enforcing company safety rules and procedures, and also carried out the activities and monitoring to ensure the continuous improvement. All this is self-explanatory. Then also using the competence personnel and also a contractors in addition with the regulation and the work to be done, right? Like the scaffold. Then providing trainings where necessary. You have to provide training for your staffs, how they can do their job in a very good way. Then you have to have communication effectively within all workers. So within all workers, communication effectively is also good. When you communicate with people, you communicate with your clients, your client communicates with his contractor, the job will be able to done at a very faster rate. So now I will proceed further to talk about keeping up to date. So keeping up to date is about recording, right? You have to identify and keep up. You have to identify and keep up to date requirements, essential. Example, in UK, the HSC websites, right, electronics news, and also internationally from the WWILO organization. Then organization and characteristics with the interest in occupational safety and health, that is IOSH, right? Then also you have to do periodical short as safety and health practitioner. Then subscription to news and updates and service offering by private business. Then also attendance at legislation, updating seminar and conference. So this all is self-explanatory, how you can attend conference to have the knowledge, to have a refreshed memory. Then also you can also go, there's a website UK on HSC. All these things can give updates of the recent organization labor laws, any improvements or any additional convention they make, right? Then we're talking about effective communication. What is effective communication in this context, right? So effective communication can be defined as the process of delivering information from one sender to the recipient. To be effective, the correct information has to be transmitted and understood, right? So communication simply means that it's the ways of transmitting information from one person to another. You have different form of communication. You have verbal communication, non-verbal communication, right? Where you have sign and symbols, right? And then also, in talking about the verbal communication use the speaking of word, face-to-face conversation, meeting or interview or training. So these are form of communication, right? So what are the limitations and the merits, that the advantage? So we're talking about language barrier might exist, right? So language barrier might exist. Then personal. Then you're talking about jargons may not be understood. You don't need to use high jargons, right? You don't need to use strong accents or dialects to give out information. That is disadvantage. Then you have to look at the background noise may also be interfere, the background noise. Then you have to look at the recipient may also have poor hearing, right? Then also message may also be ambiguous. That may be too much big words, ambiguous. Then also the recipient, that's the receiver, may also miss information, right? Then also no written record as a proof. When you are speaking, no written record as a proof. Then poor transmission quality if by telephone, right? So by telephone also people cannot get the proper information. Then personal, quick, then direct, you understand? Then it's allowed, the advantage, it's personal. When you transmit to people, like verbal communication, it's personal, it's very quick and also direct. Then also it allow for checking of understanding. Then also it allow for feedback to be given. Then also allow for exchange of views, right? Then usually allow for additional information to be transmitted by one means of tone, voice, facial experience, right? Facial experience. Then we're talking about writing communication. Writing communication use the writing words, reports, norms, emails, notice, company handbooks, etc. What are the disadvantages, the limitation? Like indirect, it's indirect. It takes time to write. You can take time to write. It's very difficult. Then may contain jargons like big word, abbreviation. So not everybody will understand. Then also can be impersonal. Then message may also be ambiguous. People will not able to understand sometimes in writing. Then language barrier may also exist. So if you write one in English, people are Arabic or people are Spanish, they cannot understand. Then the receiver, that the recipient may not be also able to read, right? Then immediate feedback may not be available. So whenever you write something, not everybody will be able to reply to it, right? Then also questionnaire cannot be asked, right? Then recipients may have impaired vision, right? Then what are the advantage of writing communication? Permanent is a permanent record. It can be refer back in case of any court case, or in case of any a mere feature there is confusion. You can able to go back and check the record, right? Then also the advantage can be written very carefully to avoid use of jargon and abbreviation and also ambiguity. Then also the advantages can also be distributed to a wide audience related cheaper. You can send so many emails in a written form. You can send so many copies to different people, right? Then also we're talking about geographical communication. We're talking about graphic communication. Graphic communication is the use of signs and symbols or programs, safety signs, right? We're talking about graphic communication, right? This is the using of pictures, signs, and photographs, right? Safety side, hazard warnings and symbols, photographs, etc. What is the disadvantage? The disadvantage can only be what? Can be conveyed simple message. It can be conveyed simple message, right? And it's expensive to buyer and user. It's very expensive. Then may not be looking at. Then symbol and photograph may also be unknown to the receiver. Then no immediate feedback available. Then questionnaire cannot be asked. Then also the receiver may not be able to impair the visions, right? What is the advantage? We're looking at this advantage, the eye catching, right? Then the eye can easily able to understand it. Then visually, the eyes also you can visual it and understand the meaning, the interpretation, right? Then when we're talking about quick to interpret, this is very simple and self-explanatory. It's easy to be interpreted. When you see a sign in that no cross, right? You see zebra sign, stop. You can easily understand what it means, right? Then jargon free. No need to use jargon. It's only signs and symbols. No need to use big English. It's very simple graphic communication, right? Then we're talking about conveying the message to a wide audience. So when people see a sign, it's easy for them, everybody to understand, right? Even if you don't know this sign today, if you know it, you will always remember. So if you see a sign of P, no parking, you will understand that no parking. So these are advantage of graphic communication. So now we're talking about broadcasting method. What is broadcasting method? Method of broadcasting health and safety information, including notice board, right? So notice board should also be there. Then posters and videos about how safety operation is going. So this also is necessary. Then also digital media is also important for safety. People will convey their information through there. So this is a sign of communication, of sending safety information to people through notice board, through posters and videos, through digital media, through company internet, or through toolbox, or through the memos and emails, then through employee handbook, right? Then I'm going to talk about corporations and consultation. Cooperation simply means that when people are cooperating, when organizations are cooperating to each other, when countries are cooperating to each other. Then consultation means is to ask questions. When you consult a consultant, what we should do, What are the safety precautions? What we need to do to amend this problem, right? Or what we do to raise our financial budget, right? So this is consultation, right? So a positive safety culture can only be created with a worker cooperation and inclusion. This is the best achieving by involvement of employee into the decision making. Example, safety commitments. So everybody should cooperate with each other for this safety culture to work. Then what is consultation with employee? Consultation involves employer not only giving information to the employee, but also listening to them and also take account of what they say before any health or safety decision are made, particularly in respect of what? Number one, the introduction of any new health and safety measures or technology or procedures in the workplace. This simply means that any new equipment, like they have signing, tagging system, this electrical system they use to come to office, you have to tag it. The employer needs to make this to understand to the people, to the contractors, to his staff, that this is how you should use it. These are the new training you should undergo, right? Then number two, in consultation with employee. Number two, the appointment of special nominated person to provide health and safety advice and assistance. So in consultation, they should appoint a special nominated person that people will consult if they have certain issue, or they have certain distress, or they feel that this is not good or this is right. They need to consult someone that will help them in their health issue, or they want to give suggestion, right? They should have person they will able to ask this question. Then number three, any health and safety training plans or information required, right? So in this consultation, they have person who they have a safety training who should give safety trainings and the planning and information that is required. It is also common practice to form a safety committee, to act as a local points for health and safety issues. The safety committee also provide an opportunity for the involvement of employee in the health and safety and the means of improving the overall health and safety consulting of the company. So this simply means that every company or organization or government, they should have a committee of safety, health and safety, right? Like a doctors or consultant, wherein people were able to have one-to-one chats with them, or a group chats with them, that these are the safety precautions we want. This is what we are facing. These are the hazards that we are facing. What we need to be doing. So there should be like update training. They have some certain company, they have a training, they call it new employee training. So employee will be able to understand what is this mining company is about, what are their safety rules, their health precautions, what they should do, what people should not do, their road safety, what they should do. So all these things need to take into consideration, right? So in talking about this, I'm going to proceed about training. What is training? Training identifies the gaps in the skills or the knowledge, or sets out to bring about demonstrable changes in the attitude or the behavior through planning, learning, experience to achieve effective performance in an activities or range of activities. So in training simply means that how you can train your staff about the safety, health and safety. You explain to them, right? You have the committee will explain to them what they should do What are their safety precautions? So you explain to them that this is your job, this is what you should do. So they should always go for regularly update training, that this is what you should do in order way to secure or to protect their lives, or to protect company image, or to protect company reputation, right? Or to protect company finance. Maybe any danger that happen, any accidents can happen, can lead to company bankruptcy, or can lead to company reduce of their profits, right? So then in this training, new workers to learn the correct or safe working practice from the outset, and also become effective and quickly. Then also worker well trained and skilled employee to be more motivated and productive and work to a high standard. So when workers are trained, they can able to do well, they can able to be more productive, they can be also motivated about their job when they have a regular training also. Then now I'm going to talk about another topic, talking about introduction of training, right? Before I talk about training, then now I'm going to talk about introduction of training. Introduction of training will cover, which area of introduction of training will cover? It will cover an organization health and safety policy. So any training in every organization or company or countries or communities or business place or any offices or any oil companies or mining companies, they should have introduction training. And this introduction training will cover one, the organization health and safety policy. Then 2, fire and other emergency procedures, right? In case of fire, how they're able to evacuate the buildings and emergency exit point. Then number 3, fire aid facility and personnel training. Then the location, number 4, the location of welfare or facility where they should have good welfare, their foods or water facility. Then number 6, their safe movement around the working place, how they can able to move around their working place without any danger, without thinking that something will fall on their head. You understand? So these are safety also. Then number 7, talking about accidents and incident reports procedure. If anything occur in this building or this facility, they should have person that will write the incident report. All right. Then also number 8, worker consultation arrangements. So the staff also should have people that they were able to consult in case of they have medical issue, in case of they have accident, anything that happened, they have someone that they can able to consult, or they having financial problem, or their job, they're having difficulties in their job, they are not able to execute their job properly because they don't have much idea. They will have people to go and consult that this is what I'm facing, I need more training on these areas, right? Then also they should have number 9, general safety rules, short as no smoking sign. So they should have more training also, no smoking signs. Where the people supposed to smoke is the where to smoke, where to rest, they should have signs all over. Every area should have signs that this area is for this area is for that, right? Then also number 10, personal protective equipment requirements. They should have their requirement, their code of dressing. If it's an office, they have their code of dressing. Then if it's an oil company or mining company or government place, they should know that these are the protective equipment that you're supposed to use. People should be conversant with it. Then number 11, introduction to safety system of the workplace and permits to work. So this is like an authorization. Every places you want to go in this organization or office place, they should have the security in the first place who is going to take records of people that are coming inside, or they should have an electronics machine that is going to take records that this person is visiting this place or they have a record, right? Then number 12, we're talking about the introduction to a risk assessment system. So these are done by the health and safety. So periodically or monthly, they should have an inspection of all the building or this facility or a community that people are not exposed to danger, right? Then we're talking about refresher training. First of all, I talk about introduction training. Now is refresher training. What is refresher training? This will ensure that employees remain motivated and effective, and also is needed whenever their job or process change or change in legislation, that is the law, their policy change, right? Or when the new technology is introduced. Let's say, for example, labor laws, the international laws of organization, right? Or the international standardized organization, or the labor laws change. They should call all the staffs or the employee. These are the new amendments they make for these rules and regulation, so people will be able to understand. Or these are the new safety procedures, these are the new electrical equipment that we brought, how people will use it. So it's regularly training. Or this is the way how you can build the budget, a regular training. Or these are the new computer systems that we brought, these are the new CCTV equipment that we brought. It depends on which offices, right? Then that is the refresher training, right? Then we're talking about principle and practice of risk assessment. When we're talking about principle of risk assessment, first of all, we have to do the definition of hazard. A hazard is a substance or a machine or a situation that has a potential to cause harmful or damage. Hazard will also exist to some extent in a workplace. So hazard is anything that will make people to be vulnerable or exposed to danger, right? That can harm people. For example, if a sharp iron is on the way, people step on it, it's an hazard, right? Then also, let's say you are in a working place, right? Your chair is not good, it's an hazard to you. Let's say people are working at the ceiling, then you are sitting working. That ceiling can fall on your head, it's an hazard, right? Then we're talking about what is risk. Risk is the likelihood of harm, actually, right? It occurs from the workplace or hazard. Their consequence or the degree of risk depend on the likelihood of harm happening and the severity of the injury or the damage or the loss might occur. So this simply means that the risks involved, that the danger that will happen to someone. Let's say there is a sharp iron, or there is an electrical circuit which is open, so mistakenly someone will touch that one. So the shock that someone will occur or will get from that socket, it's the risk. Then the aftermath, that the danger, maybe some person can faint. So these are the risks. That's the meaning of risks, right? So we're talking about risk assessment. What is risk assessment? Risk assessment is nothing more than the careful examination of what is good or what is bad or what is harmful in this workplace could also cause harm, so that we can decide if the current precautions are enough to prevent that harm, or if there is a need to do more to reduce the level of risk. So risk assessment simply means that these are the assessment that we do, that these things in this office or this government place, it can endanger people's life. How are we going to do? This place is very hot, right? It can lead to people highly humidity. So what are we going to do to reduce the humidity or to reduce the sunburn, right? Or this place is prone to fire. What are we going to do? Or this road, there are a lot of accidents that is occur because of overspeeding of vehicle. What are we going to do? We need to put a speed bump. So like those one are the risk assessments. You make the risks and you find assessments. What are the solutions, right? You can do. Then also, in talking about this risk assessment, the objective of risk assessment is to prevent. What to prevent? To prevent death or personal injury, One, then two, other types of loss of incidents, right? Like if incidents occur, accidents or fire, the people that have the company, the business, they will run at loss. So it's to prevent that loss of money. You have direct cost and you have indirect cost, where they will lose to compensation, or because of their billing, their facility gets burned, they have to pay to make that billing again. So that is an indirect cost, right? So the objective also bridging of statutory law. So in other way, they have a laws that govern the ILO, International Labour Law. So not to breach that laws, they have to work with the standard, the safety standard. They have to upgrade their safety standard. They have direct and indirect costs that follow accidents. If accidents occur, the direct or indirect cost that they will spend. So the objective of risk assessment is four. One is death or personal injury. Number two, other type of loss of incident. Then number three, breach of statutory law. Then number four, direct or indirect cost that will follow the accident. Then I'm going to talk about risk assessment. What is risk assessment? Risk assessment should be carried out by a competent person. So that's why we said that company, they need to have a committee. A committee is set up and get a good staff who is more experienced, have more knowledge, and also they will delegate this responsibility to him to do the risk assessments or evaluation every month or every year or every quarter period. So how we can do the risk assessments? So a risk assessment might also be carried out by a person or a team allowed to various view or opinion to be taken into account or including this one. So what it should have, it seems like auditing. So now I'm going to mention 5 points in risk assessment. Workers should familiar with the tax. This competence person should make sure that worker they familiar with the tax and areas of be assessed. Then they should also have the health and safety specialist, that is certificate. Then you should have technical specialists, have ideas about mechanical, about health and safety. Then also they should be in line with the management, the rules and regulation, the policy that this safety manager or HSE it should comply with their health and safety, the management rules. Then number 5, worker safety representative, right? The workers also, they should have their representatives. They should be able to match up together to know their problem. Then now I will talk about criteria for suitable or sufficient assessments, right? Insufficient assessment of risks and health and safety. A risk assessment should also be good enough to fulfill the legal requirements and prevent the foreseen injuries and ill health from happening. So this simply means that they should try to prevent they should try to prevent any accident that want to occur. That is the necessity of the criteria for sufficient assessment. Number 1 is by identifying the importance of risks arise out of the workplace, right? Then also to enable the employee to identify and prioritize the measures that might be taken to protect the people from harm, including the compliance with the relevant legal provision. Then also they should be appropriate to the nature of the workplace, remaining the value for the reasonable period of time. Then step number 2, they have to identify the hazard. How they can identify the hazard? The first step is the risk assessment. The process is to identify all the significant hazard. What is safety hazard? It's capable of causing an immediate physical injuries and can be categorized accordingly to the type of accident that is foreseen. So in identifying the hazard is very necessary. When you identify the hazard, you know that these people can be prone to accidents, can prone to injuries, to slip and trips, and falling in a particular height, or object to fall on their head. Then the collision with any object. You can be walking, right? If you are in a dark place, there is no light. At the end of the day, you will end up to fall down because there is no light, or there is certain items that is in on your way, right? Then we're talking about trip, crush, under, between an object. Then manual handling. So manual handling is how you can handle like trolleys. This trolley, like you want to carry some equipment or some material from your car or from your workplace to transfer it to another place, but you carry it with your hand. When you carry it from your ground, maybe it's like 50 or 60 kg. At the end of the day, carry it, then your waist bone, you get injury there because of carrying it rather than using the manual hand lift machine, right? Then we're talking about contact with machine or hand tools. Hand tools also can endanger. Maybe the hand tools is not good, right? Electrical shock. Maybe there is a leakage of power or current. That at the end of the day, it can shock you, right? So this is how we can identify hazard. Also transportation. In transportation to see whether this vehicle is very good, the engine is good, the horn is good, the brake also. Then contact with chemical. So contact with chemical also is another how to identify the risks, because sometimes some chemical people use for housekeeping or some labs, the toxicity of some creams also can affect another people, right? In inhaling, right? Then also we're talking about suffocation, right? Maybe you cannot breathe proper, right? Or drowsing. Then fire explosion, maybe because of the safing of the way you segregate your equipment, you didn't segregate your chemical properly. So two chemical can ignite fire, right? Then we're talking about animals, putting both animals. Some animals are not corresponding with another. Then violence also, right? Because of violence also is an hazard, right? Two people are fighting, the person who comes to separate them might fall victim of hazard, right? They are using equipment, they are using knives or other things, right? So this also is an hazard. So we're talking about health hazard. We're talking about health hazard. Health hazard also can cause occupational disease or ill health or condition, can also be categorized into 5 groups, right? So health hazard can be categorized into 5 groups. We have physical, we have chemical, we have biological, then we have economical, then we have psychological hazard. So the physical hazard is like radiation, vibration, noise, extreme temperature, like nature also is an hazard, right? Rains, this one can become hazard. Then you have chemical like lead, mercury, sulfate, acid. Some of these things go into your food also, or because touching the body also can become hazard chemical. Then biological also like also example like hepatitis B virus. Then laminial bacteria responsible for laminary disease or rabies virus also. These are biological hazard. Then also economical also, very representative movement, smoothing, twisting, manual handling machine, right? Like ironical is like your ankle. Sometimes you want to carry something, or you are walking in a height, immediately you jump down or from a ladder you jump down, then your ankle can break. So these are the hazard. Then also you're talking about physical hazard, right? Psychological is now very common because of mental illness. So more people are facing psychological hazard, right? Then also, hazard can be identification method. How you can identify hazard? There are different ways you can identify. 1, through inspection, then 2 tax analysis, then 3 through legislation law, then 4 through manufacturer information, then number 4 through incident data. So I'm going to explain hazard identification method. The method 1 is inspection. Inspection 1, inspection will be identify the existing hazard as well as new one when you do inspection. Then 2, tax analysis. When you find the hazard in each component or system of job, right, you already analyze this hazard, that this electrical, it can cause its hazard, so you already analyze it. Then legislation, right, legislation are legal standard that need to be applied. So every legal laws that need to be applied, right. Then manufacturer information. So this simply means that manufacturers, they will write that this chemical is not good for eating. This chemical you need to keep at this temperature, right? So manufacturer information is very important. Is where we have the ISO certification. The ISO certification is an international standardized organization. They gives authorization that this chemical, this equipment is being certified, is good to go, it's safe, right? Then we're talking about data, incident data. Number 5, talking about incident data. A hazard may also be significant but not yet have cause or harm, so be on notice. Right, so because of incident data you have, it can help someone to protect himself. You already have data of previous situation or previous accident that occur. Then step number 2 is identifying the people at risk. How we can identify people at risk? Consider all people at risk: worker, operatives, or cleaning, or maintenance, or personnel, or contractors, or visitors, or members of public. Give special attention to lone workers or pregnant women. So that is number 2. You have to identify people at risk. Number 3, you have to evaluate the risks and also decide the precautions. You have to decide the precaution. You identify risks. That this thing is harmful. If this iron is on the way where vehicle is passing through, it will damage the car, it will lead to accident. So you have to remove the risks. By removing the risks, you can eliminate the accident, right? So this simply means that number 3, evaluating the risks and deciding on precaution. Risk evaluation aims to identify the likelihood of harm that will result from hazard and also its severity. Ranking risks implies certain amount of subject or judgment or quantitative, although it is impossible to quantify risks. Risk simply means semi-quantitative by using the formula risk, livelihood, and severity, right? So it is not possible or practicable to eliminate all the risks from a workplace. It can only reduce the risks to remain once control have been put in place. Where a risk reduced to a low level that's reasonable, practicable, it is deemed to be at a acceptable or a tolerable level. Although the level of acceptability will be vary from people to be affected. The general hierarchy of control, the OHSAS 18001, is to elimination, then substitution, then engineering control, then administrative control, then personal protective equipment, right? Then number 5 also, recording significant finding. So any health and safety issue need to be recorded. Then review. Number 5 means to review. Review the assessments will also need to be reviewed when there are changes in any rules and regulation. Review in this one, right? Then also, we're talking about specific cases and vulnerable workers. So, for this topic, we are going to talk about specific cases and vulnerable worker. Some employee may be particularly vulnerable due to their age or physical attributes or condition. Young people may be excluded from carrying a certain high-risk activities, and restricted worker or partner or receiving more intensive training or close supervision. Experts and nursing mothers should not be carried out certain duty that will place them or their baby at risk, ionized hazard, and should have a specific risk assessment on hazard of job. Disabled workers should also be able to integrate with other employees. Specific agreements may have been made. Then low worker should also be follow the competent and aware of hazard and risks associated with their duties. Ideally, there should be a means of stable contact with base, right? Contact. They may also be at more risk of violence if dealing with a public. If they are injured or fall ill while working, there should be consensus, right? General hierarchy of preventive or protective measures. What are the protective measures? While the best ways of controlling risks is by avoiding the risks or eliminating what causes the hazard. This may not always be possible, so there is hierarchy of measures that can be taken to minimize the risks. What is going to minimize? One, by eliminating the hazard or substitute it from something lesser or hazardous. That is to reduce the risks. Then also by changing working method. If you know that this working method is very dangerous, you change the pattern and reduce the exposure. Then isolated or segregated the risks at sources. Like for certain chemical, you have to segregate the chemical, or for fire, if you have paper here, you have this oxygen here, you have this equipment, you have to segregate them, right, to eliminate fire, because fire is a combination of heat, oxygen, right? Then also we're talking about using engineering control, right? So these are preventive measures, engineering control that provide general rather than individual protection, good design of control that contain the hazard, that's like guard, security guard, and the inclusion of fail-safe device will also remove or reduce the risks. Then dissolution and local exhaust ventilation, like if they know that this place is very hot, nice breath here is not coming inside, they put ventilation there also. Then also to ensure safe system of work, so every offices, like they have a good computer system, their ACs, all their system is working in a perfect manners also. Then also to provide training and information to allow them also. Then also by using personal protective equipment. If they know that they supposed to use personal protective equipment, they should provide this one for them also. Then we're talking about another topic called collective and individual protective measure. Collective means 2-3 people. There are 2, 3, or 4 or more than a group of people. Their responsibility. Collective protective measures are those that protect the whole place or individual, or one protects single workers. Safe place or environment. All measures have been taken to protect the workplace, that is the access place, the plant, the process. Then safe place applies to individual who has been trained and is following the safe system of work, including the PP, personal protective equipment. They are following it. Then we're talking about category or features of a safe sign. Safe sign combines the shape, the color, or the picture symbols to convey a specific health and safety information. Introduction. Signs and symbol also is very necessary. Then prohibition. Prohibition simply means that this place is prohibited from people, is prohibited from this certain only authorized people. So this sign also is very necessary. They're talking about warning sign. Tell people to take care of, respect of certain hazard or triangular with a black pictographic or yellow background. So warning sign also should also be there. It depends on different warning. They have mandatory action. Mandatory action, if somebody failed to put on his safety gears or failed to do certain things, they should have a laws that you're supposed to do this, where it's mandatory. Like to put on masks during the corona period is mandatory, right? So these are safety measures also. Then also firefighting, we're talking about safe condition. Safe condition also is another measure. Identifying safe behaviors or a place of safety, rectangular with a white pictograph. So like identifying the safety, also safety condition. Then also firefighting equipment also. People should be able to identify this fire, identifying the particular types of equipment and their location, right? Then also talking about sources of information on health and safety. When we're talking about the information, we have an external data, right? External data is national or international standard. They have national legislation or regulation. Then we have safety data sheets and maintenance manual from manufacturer or supplier. They have information from trade journal or pressure group or trade association. They have the internal, right? External, like the national, international standard or national legislation or regulation, the laws, right? So these are sources of information. How you can get information about health and safety. You have external data, they have internal data. Internal data, how you can get information through accidents or medical record, or inside the company they do risk assessment. Then number 3, inspection or report or auditing, when you go to do survey or inspection or auditing. So these are internal. Internal are like accident or medical report, or you write a marketing report. It depends. Then risk assessment, you understand. Then also inspection of reports and auditing, right? Then we're talking about safe system of work. This is another topic, safe system of work. Safe system of work, if an hazard cannot be physically or eliminated, some risks remain. A safe system of work ensures that the tasks of a working process are formally analyzed to identify all the hazards and define worker method which eliminates those hazards or minimize the association risks. A safe system of work is a formal procedures. A safe system of work is a formal process, right? This simply means that safe system of work is how people can work in a safety place, right? These are the procedure which must be followed all the time, right? What are the procedure? Employer must have a duty to ensure the safety of their working force. Number one, appointing a competent person to supervise them. That means with a sufficient training and experience. Then number 2, you have to involve the employee in the development and reviewing of the system of work, right? So the employee should understand their system of work. You have to enlighten them. Then number 3, you have to provide written procedures and instruction. When you provide these written procedures, so every time this staff or this employee will see this one, you know that this is my duty, I don't need to do like this, because now this is in a written form, right? The employee will be afraid, because at the end of the day, you know that if you violate that law, there is a written document. It's rather than telling someone verbally, right, wherein there is no record, right? Then we're talking about implementing a hierarchy of control. The control measure to safe system of work. How we can control people. You have technical control. Technical control, like the engineering control, applied directly to the hazard itself. Then number 2, the procedural control. That is specifically the way work should be carried out in relation to the hazard. In certain place which is hazardous, how you should carry this work. They should tell the employee that this is what you should do at this particular site, right? Then technical means, number 1, technical control means how the engineer will explain to you how you will do your work there, how you use this equipment, right? Then we're talking about behavioral control. Behavioral control also is how you can behave. You can follow these safety precautions, the behavior, your attitude also, right? It simply means that it relates to the safety practice of individual working development, a safe system of work involved. Then you're talking about analytical tasks. Analytical tasks and identifying risk assessments, right? It involves the various tasks and assessment the tasks. Then you're talking about introducing control. How we can introducing control? By formulating the procedures, right? Every procedures in every facility, people need to follow these procedures, and when you introduce the procedures, you have to bring a training how people will follow these procedures. Because when people follow these procedures, they will understand. They also will teach other people how to follow these procedures, right? Then we're talking about instructing and training personnel in the use of system. So in every facilities or any organization or country, they should have a system, right? So this system that they brought, let's say like technological system, how to use your fingerprints to tag your name, like they have a register. So how they can use that machine, what time they should need to tag in. So these are also called monitoring and reviewing system. So monitoring and reviewing system, like at the end of the month or 2-3 months, they have to review all of these systems, that whether they have any lapses or any defects in this machine. So they have to check this system. So example of where there is a safe system of working are likely to be needed, including working in a confined space, right? When you are working in a very good space, such as the mining area or a tunnel inside a vessel. So all of these places, they have to have a safety or HSE, so a safety precaution is more necessary there. Then we're talking about lonely work. Lonely work, which involves workers who are geographically separated from their working colleague and who might encounter increasing risks in the course of their work because of lack of assistance or lack of facility or warning, right? Then we're talking about travel and working abroad. Precaution controls the security and health and risks associated with international traveling, including the establishment of company and policy and procedure and arrangement for insurance or vaccinations or trainings or advice. So this simply means that in traveling and working abroad, you have to follow every standardized international laws, international labor laws. Every country, they have their own rules and regulation, their own policies, right? Like some country, they will say you have to have working permits, you have to have these documents before you start this kind of job. So this is what it's trying to talk about. Like some countries, they say you have to be vaccinated, right? You have to have these documents before you start to work. You have to undergo this training. You have to go through this examination, medical examination. So you have to, every country have their own international standardized organization. They have their own policies, their own requirements, rules and regulations, right? So now I'm going to talk about permit to working system, right? This permit to working system, I will talk on this on the next topic. So I will stop here. I think I should stop here. Permits to work. Okay, this permits to work system, permits to work simply means that it helps ensure that all necessary action are taken before and during after a particular hazardous operation or a situation that are hazardous or where a combination results in high risk. So permits to work simply means that you have to make a document. There is a document where they have to check for all safety precautions, right? If someone wants to come and work in certain facility or they want to work in certain places, right, they have to check whether their health is in good status, whether they have the rightful equipment, right? If they are doing hot spots like welding, hot work, they have to check their welding machine, whether it's in good form, whether they have their PPE, that is personal protective equipment. So they have to check all of these things, right? So after they check for all of this equipment, it's also more very necessary they check for this one. Then do not confuse a working permit to a work permit to work with a safe system of work. It's different, right? It is the formula clearly written on record of what work is to be done and the hazard and what precautions are to be taken. It must be the possession of a person in charge of the operation before work can begin. What is permit to work? Permit to work must be specific, the type of work people are going to do, the location to which they are referred. An effective permit to work system will also have 4 sections. What are the 4 sections to permit to work? 1, the issues. They have to define the work. The issue means to define the work, identify the hazard, and determine the necessary precaution. Then number 2, the receipts. They have to sign by workers to confirm they are understanding all hazard, the risks, and the precautions, and will comply with the control measure. Let's say in every facility they have their own safety precautions, so they should make sure that these people, before they sign it, people should understand that this is what we should do in this facility. Where we are going to work in this oil company, these are the way we should follow the rules and regulations. So they should understand before they sign this document. Then number 3, they have to be clearance. Clearance is return to service. This is signed by the worker to confirm that the workplace has been left in a safe condition. So that means they have to sign after finish that the work has been finished and it's safe. Then we're talking about cancellation. The 4th point is cancellation, right? Cancellation simply means that authorized manager need to sign this permit to work to accept the hand back of the workplace, right? So there may also be an extension section in this case of overrunning of the work permits will always be required for hazardous situation. So this simply means that permit to work is always necessary for any hazardous work. People want to do hot work, so they should have permits to work. Permit to work is to check their safety. They have about 4 points. They have to check for the issues. What work are they going to do? Then the receipts, right? Who is going to sign? They are going to sign their safety precaution. Then the clearance, then the cancellations, right? Then also, we're talking about hot work, right? Hot work permits are concerned with preventing fires, explosions in relation to maintenance activities and others non-routine work, including burns, welding, use of naked flammable, work on electrical system, right? Then machineries maintenance, then confining space, right? So we're talking about emergency procedures. Emergency procedures. What are the emergency procedures? The importance of developing emergency procedures. An organization has to develop the procedures to deal with or foresee incidents, such as incidents might occur, like fire. So every organization should have an emergency procedures in case of fire, in case of flood, a building overflow with water, right? Or in case of any emergency situation, they should have their process how they can evacuate that building. So this is more necessary. Like, for example, what are the situations? Like in fire, bomb threats, spillage of hazardous chemical. What is spillage of hazardous chemical? It simply means that, like, whenever there is a toxic chemical, this toxic chemical fall on a ground. When it fall on a ground, this chemical maybe might go to like the river. So they have to try to condemn this spillage of chemical, so this area will not be contaminated. Maybe people are around, if they inhale this chemical, it can be toxic to their system. So this is the meaning of spillage. So there are 5 emergency procedures that people might encounter, like fire, bomb threats, spillage of hazardous chemical, then release of toxic gas, then outbreak of disease like corona or Ebola or flu, monkeypox. These are outbreak. Then you talk about severe weather or flood. Severe weather or flood, like when the place is very cold, icy place, right? Or they have fire, like for example in Canada or in Australia, sometimes fire will just outbreak in their forest. And when this fire outbreak, these are called severe weather or flood, right? So these are emergency situations that occur. Then you have multiple casualty or accidents, right? Then the foreseen incidents will also be vary depending on the factors such as the types of organization and its location. So accidents can occur, emergency situation can occur. It depends on the country. It depends on the environment, right? Some environment it can very be hazardous, while other it can be mild, right? So we're talking about identifying the foreseen incidents. When you identify an incident which might occur, the organization should make an internal arrangement to deal with each of them, including if situation, they know that situation might be happen or might happen in a future or might happen in a decade, they should make a document, right? Like I'm going to mention 5 documents. Number 1, they should have the procedure to be followed. In case of there is a fire, what are the procedures they need to be followed? That is number 1. Number 2, the provision of a suitable equipment. In case of there is a fire, which equipment are we going to use? You have the fire extinguisher, you have the fire jackets. For example, you have the fire jacket, you have the foam system. This is a recent system. The foam, it's like a foam, it's like a sponge, right? Then also you have the hose drill. So this one also can also be used, right? Then you're talking about point number 3. Point number 3 is the nomination of responsible staff. You always have to make sure that you have responsible staff who are responsible. They know that this is my responsibility, my duty and responsibility. So they will know that this is my task. Even if that is not their task, they will try to alight. If there is a problem, they will call the person who is responsible for that and explain to them that this is the situation. So that is the importance of nomination of a responsible staff. Then number 4, you have to make provision of trainings and information. So provision of training and information is very necessary, right? So when you train your staff have refresh trainings. They have a yearly training or quarterly training or monthly training about the operations of that facility or the operation of safety precautions, right? Or health trainings, right? Or financial or account trainings. It depends on each training. So they will not able to make mistakes about what is going on. Then number 5, you're talking about drilling and exercise. You have to sometimes make drilling and exercise. Drilling and exercise, it simply means that, like, you make it's like a formula, like it's not a real incident. You just assume that this incident happened. If this incident happened, someone collapsed, right? How you can do a CPR on this person, how you can revive this person, how you can call the emergency system, what is the procedure you need to follow. So these are called you have to identify the foreseen incident, and the organization should also make an internal arrangement to deal with each of them, right? So I'm going to talk about the arrangements for contacting emergency service. How you can contact emergency service. Emergency service is also called the EMT, right? This is called the emergency management team, or it's called the emergency response team. That's the ERT, emergency response team. But there are different types of emergency response team. For example, where I'm living, you have the fire force. You have the local authority, which like the police, right? Then you also have the civil defense, right? Then you have the first aid, which is the ambulance, the first aider, right? So these are also called the local authority. So in explaining deeply about the local the arrangements of contacting emergency service, wise internal emergency arrangements must be made by the organization. Those responsible will also involve in contacting emergency service. The requirement should be communication equipment, right? So that means in your organization, you should have a telephone, you should have an email, then you have the contact. Then contact details is number 2. You should have the contact details of every emergency system, like the civil defense, the ambulance, the fire force. You should all have these contacts, right? Then also you have the responsible individual with a necessary information and knowledge and nominating. So this simply means that you have the HSC, right? Or you have the incident manager in your company. So in case of any information, or you have the security, right? They can able to relate this information, call the emergency system, that the emergency service, that this is what is going on. We have a fire. This is what is going on. You have to have this information ready. So, but this topic about arrangements for contacting information, contacting emergency service, it should be a teamwork, right? So you have all of them there, their contact at that particular moment, because they are working together. For example, where I'm staying, the fire force, they work with police. Then police also working with the ambulance. So all of them will come to that facility at that particular moment. But if you call this one this particular moment, there is like 2-3 hours before you call the others. So it doesn't make sense. So this is talking about how you are working in an environment, how you can arrange the arrangements, how you can get contact of all these emergency system, right? So now I'm going to talk about another topic. We talk about first aid requirements. When we're talking about the first aid, first of all, a first aider, the basic principle of a first aider is to keep the injured casualty alive until the professional medical assistants can take over. So this simply means that the first aider is in first aid, the first aider have the responsibility to do a CPR on the person till the emergency team arrive. But a first aider should also be certified by a well-recognized company, by a well-recognized institution, right? They will teach them how to do CPR on a person, or if person leg is broken, right? In a military, if someone leg is broken, how we can use the tourniquet, right? Or let's say someone fell from an height, how you can save this person, right? If the leg is broken, you have to find like a stick, 2 sticks, right? You put on his leg, then you have to remove your belt. You remove your belt and try to tie it with the stick in one side and the other stick on the other side. Then you tie it till the medical practitioner they appear, or they come to that vicinity where the casualty is, right? Then and talking about the first aider requirements, An employer has the duty to make appropriate first aid provision for his employee to allow an immediate emergency medical response to foreseen and injuries that might occur. This provision consists of 1, the facility, right? Then you have the equipment. Number 2, you have the equipment. Then number 3, you have the personnel. Then number 3, you have number 4, so you have the personnel. So in talking about the facility, the requirements in facility number 1, an appropriate location where the first aid treatment can be given. So for example, if there is a incident that occur in this particular place, you should have a place like a first aid room wherein this casualty will be taken to this first aid place, or where the emergency team will park their cars, their ambulance, their fire force vehicle. So then the security that is there to help these people to enter this facility, to help this to enter this facility, so they will able to work or do their medical operation service, right? Then also talking about equipment, suitable shock first aid kits and other equipment should be necessary. So like there is a law that first aid kits should be available in every facility, right? So sometimes in most of these developing countries, they have this shock machine, right? They have this deflation machine, wherein this machine also can able to revive people like by shocking their hearts if people got passed over or they get fainted, right? So this machine should also be available, right? Then that is the equipment. Then number 3, talking about personnel, staff with appropriate training to deal with the first aid treatment. So you should always have people in that offices or government or that community who are well trained first aider. So in case of emergency, people will have the ideas how to save people life, right? Then also talking about number 4, which is personnel, staff who maintain first aid kits or contact emergency service, right? Then the employee must notice staffs of those first aid arrangements, and also in particularly the identify of trainer first aid personnel. Then we're talking about first aid facility. When we're talking about first aid facility, an employer or a client has the duty to make appropriate first aid provision for his employee to allow an immediate emergency medical response for foreseen injuries that might occur. This provision could consist of the following. Okay, then a first aid facility. This might be a room used for the purpose that can be quickly converted into a treatment area. In a large working place with a high-risk activity, dedicated a treatment room should also be provided, like the first aid room, right? Number 1, central located and easy to access by the emergency service. So that simply means that you should have a room in front of your entrance, the office entrance, where it's easy to access, right? Then also clean and adequate heated or ventilated, right? So it should also be clean and neat and tidily, right? Then also this place also, we should provide with hand wash facility like a wheelchair or clinical equipment also should also be available, right? Then we're talking about first aid equipment. First aid equipment, as a minimum, one of full shocking first aid equipment might also be provided for a small, right, low risk working place. In large working place, multiple first aid kits should also be positioned at a various location in the workplace, right? So this simply means that for first aid, there are so many equipment which you can put in your facility in case of someone gets healed, someone gets caught, or someone gets fainted, or like high wash machine, high wash water. So like all of these things should be available in different location, right? Because in 2-3 minutes an accident might occur if something entering is high, right? If going around the facility to get the eye washing machine water, maybe the chemical might also destroy his eyes, but immediately there is a chemical enter someone's eyes, then the water is already there or the equipment is already there, then it can help him, right? So this is the necessity of health and safety, right? So then also our equipment like eye washing station, then emergency shower, then blankets like the fire blanket, right? Or blankets maybe that is extremely cold, someone have fever, right? So use this blanket. Then splitting, then resuscitation equipment, right? Like the gloves, the equipment to do CPR, right? Then you have the stretcher. Stretcher also is also necessary. They have the wheelchair, right? They have the wheelchair also is very necessary to have. They have other equipment as required. Then small traveling first aid kits can also be provided for drivers, right? Sometimes you can see driver also, they have a safety like a first aid kit in their vehicle is also necessary. They should have fire extinguisher also in their car. So all these are safety precautions, safety measures, right? We're talking about first aider and appointment person. First aider and appointment person. First aider means that a person who is well qualified, not well qualified, but qualified or certified by a certain organization or institution for him to render assistance to a casualty, right? This is a first aider, right? So an first aider means an appointed person should be available to take in charge in any emergency situation and call the emergency service, and might also need to be a trainer in a basic emergency aid. Aid mean help. It can also be in that situation, not a medical doctor, but he can able to help in that particular moment if there is an emergency. So these are necessity also, right? Then we're talking about in first aider also, in most working place, personnel should be trained. The first aider in certain cases trained on a specific matter related to a working place might be proper, right? You always make sure that this place is safe and healthy also. Then also refresher training also on first aid is mandatory. They should have a first aid training every month or yearly or quarterly. It depends. Should have a first aid training, right? And also certificates should also be given, right? Then we're talking about first aider coverage. Yeah. How are you?